too often. There are two terms you hear us use in almost every episode: world class and global best. We use these two terms to describe Lamata's work on transportation in Lagos State to make it stand toe-to-toe with the best anywhere in the world.
Well, that makes it easy for us to pat ourselves in the back and describe our work as global best. But the true judge is someone from a society with state-of-the-art transportation, the kind we're working to attain in Nigeria. Well, no one is better qualified than the Right Honorable Alderman, Yarrow, the Lord Mayor of London. He is here in Nigeria, and today he pays a visit to one of Lamata's finest projects, the Blue Line Rail project. We'll join him after the news highlights. I am Kate Harmony.
I am Obafemi Craig. This is the news highlights on Lamata FR. The Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Lamata, has appealed to commuters and road users along the Mile 12 to CMS corridor to exercise caution as the upgrade of the BRT bus shelter continues. The appeal has become necessary following the need for BRT buses to exit their lanes at the bus shelter area into the main carriageway to mix with other traffic. Road users are therefore enjoined to be patient and take appropriate caution at these areas in order to forestall accident or unnecessary congestion along the corridor. Lamata also noted that safety measures have been put in place in conjunction with the contractor executing the work. The upgrade of the Mile 12 to CMS BRT bus shelters is part of the plans towards the complete upgrade of the BRT light infrastructure from Mile 12 to CMS. Following the intense rain being recorded in Lagos, the Managing Director, Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Lamata, Dr. Dayo Mobriola, has cautioned motorists against overspeeding. Dr. Mobriola said given the state of the roads, it has become imperative for all drivers to reduce speed and observe road signs. He further admonished them to put on their headlamps during the rain as visibility will be poor. And that ends the news highlights.
Basically, what Lamata does is to coordinate public transportation in Lagos State, and we came up with a transport master plan.
Developed together with the World Bank, the objective of this plan is finding long-lasting solutions for the problem of transportation in Lagos. Currently under its first steps of development, the plan has already proven itself a big success, dramatically increasing the connectivity in a city in continuous expansion and enjoying an unparalleled demographic and economic growth.
Our responsibility is to ensure that we provide the necessary infrastructure to meet the growth, to improve the quality of life, to improve the standard of living, and to make Lagos a vibrant and livable city in years to come.
Lamata, keeping Lagos moving.
London, without argument, is one of the greatest cities in the world. It is the world's leading investment destination, a global center of art and history, and the most visited city on the globe as measured by international arrivals.
And given the millions that visit London each year, its transportation system, which includes rail, road, and sea, enjoys acclaim as one of the best in the world. London transportation efficiency has been a major inspiration to Lamata, hence our continued success in upgrading your Lagos travel experience.
And that's why we're pleased and proud to have the Right Honorable Alderman, Yarrow, the Lord Mayor of London, with us, visiting the site of the soon-to-be-completed Blue Line Rail project.
The Right Honorable Yarrow didn't come alone. His retinue includes international business minds and investment heads. But you are just as important to us as the Lord Mayor and his company. So, we're not joining them without you. Let's go now, on the move.
Lagos, my home. With Lamata, Lagos. Lagos is changing for the best.
Owing to several decades of improper planning, absence of a regulatory framework, and professionals in industry, the Lagos metropolis began to experience huge traffic congestion. This is further exacerbated by the absence of a good transport system, thus promoting the use of private vehicles as a major means of transportation across the metropolis. This state of affairs led to the appraisal of studies carried out on public transportation in the metropolitan Lagos, and this ultimately got Lagos State government to explore alternate means of transportation by establishing a planning and implementing agency of government that will coordinate transportation within the metropolis. That agency is called the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA. LAMATA has come up with multimodal transport options, rail lines, BRT, and good road networks that will aid mobility around the metropolis. Blue Line Rail Mass Transit Project, which runs from Okokomaiko to Marina, is one of the several outlined projects listed in the Strategic Transport Master Plan aimed at transforming transportation in Lagos to world-class standards. The very best of professionals were involved in the planning and implementation. Now almost completed, the echoes of the project have gained huge recognition even from faraway London. Today, Alderman, Lord Mayor of London, is visiting the construction site of the Okokomaiko to Marina Blue Line Rail project with a delegation team. So, join us. The Lord Mayor and his entourage were received by the Managing Director of LAMATA, Dr. Dayo Mubiola, who led the LAMATA team during the visit. Dr. Mubiola informed the visitor about the challenges of transportation in Lagos and what has been government's response to these challenges.
The problem of transportation in Lagos started about 40 years ago, and we have been grappling with it since then. It's not until the last few years that we have actually come up with the Transport Master Plan to address the issues on a sustainable manner. And in this transport solution is that there's a need to have very good rail lines, good conventional buses, and also to create the atmosphere that would ensure that investors could come in and have the level playing field. And to crown it all, we now have very good institutional framework to allow for all of these things to take place. That is why the organization Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority was created. So it's on that note that we've come up with this plan, which Frederick is going to share with you, which is a transport master plan, which is our plan for the next 20, 30 years. And then Benga here will also share what we have done specifically.
During a discussion session, Technical Advisor, Transport Planning, Dr. Frederick Oladende, looked at LAMATA, public transport solutions as identified in the Strategic Transport Master Plan, STMP.
So we have come up with a master plan which actually specifies 6 rail lines, 1 monorail, 14 BRT lines, 3 cable car. We believe that cable car would actually help in actually moving certain communities from one point to the other. When you look at the demographics of Lagos, it's surrounded by water, and sometimes to bypass the lagoon, you have to go into Lagos and come out, and that can take you 2 hours. Whereas when you have a cable car, that can take you about 15 to 20 minutes. We're also looking at making the network efficient by bringing all kinds of information, ITS, just to make the network efficient. We have specified 6 rail lines and 1 monorail. Today you will have the opportunity of of seeing the blue line. But when you look at that map, the red line goes from Marina, which is a big hub, all the way to E4. And this line will take about 1 million people a day. The blue line which you see today is the one that goes from Marina all the way to Okokomaiko. Now this is a regeneration area. So the blue line will regenerate the area and attract a lot of business. This line, which is the green line, actually goes from Marina all the way to the Lekki Free Trade Zone. We have a new airport coming up here. We have a deep sea port there. So there's a lot of investment going on this corridor. We also have the yellow line, which goes from Ota, where a lot of people live, and they commute to Lagos. So this goes from Ota all the way to National Theatre. We have the purple line from Redeem. It will go to Shagamu eventually, all the way to a university here called LASU. So there's a lot of students that actually commute from this area and come here. And finally, we have the brown line, which is from Marina all the way to mile 12. However, we're going to extend it to Ikorodu once the model city plan for Ikorodu has been developed. We also have 1 monorail here, which will serve the people of Ikoyi and Victoria Island.
Taking the visitors through a presentation, Lamata, the BRT, and the Blue Line, Director of Public Transport, Engineer Gbenga Dairo, highlighted the philosophy of the state government in providing intermodal integrated transport system for more than 22 million commuters in Lagos.
Continuing to invest in road infrastructure is not going to work for us in Lagos. We're trying to emulate what has happened in the United Kingdom. We're trying to shift the focus away from private car transport and to move people instead using public transport systems. Here are examples of the infrastructure that we provided. That photograph there shows our depot and some buses that have just landed in Lagos. The operators are quite about 400 of those, and we're ready to roll perhaps the next 6 weeks or so. Can we move on? Here are examples of some of the bus shelters we have provided. The planning for the work, however, was done by a British consultancy firm, Integrated Transport Projects. And that's our bus terminal, standard bus terminal. Standard, of course, in the Western world and elsewhere, but in Nigeria, it's a unique transport infrastructure provided here because it's not common, especially in our city. Pictures of the buses. The picture on the right is important simply because we're now also beginning to pay attention to the needs of the physically challenged. We are quite keen to promote that, but also we have to admit that we're heavily influenced by the World Bank, who finances these projects, and insist that we take into account these sort of issues. So there are several investment opportunities in BRT. We've heard from Fred that in addition to what we're doing here now, there are up to 8 other BRT lines proposed for Lagos. The need is identified. The demand for bus use is there in the millions. Several buses are required. Much more infrastructure is required. The state government cannot do it on its own. It requires help from multilateral agencies, from private sector investors. So there is opportunity really for transport investment in transport. Now, on the Blue Line Metro scheme, it's along the Badagry Expressway corridor in Lagos, which is heavily populated, and therefore it will serve, this particular project will serve the transport needs of those who reside and work in that corridor. But in addition to that, it also helps in stimulating development. And we have noticed that since we began construction of this project and also the expansion of the road there, values of land has gone up, and therefore some of the revenues coming into government is also beginning to go up as well. So it's been positive from that point of view. Altogether, it's a 27-kilometer route. We expect it to carry up to 400,000 passengers per day through 11 stations. The traffic that we're expecting is quite significant because if you look at the project, it's going to cost us about $1.2 billion altogether in terms of both infrastructure and rolling stock. And on average, we're estimating that we will charge our passengers about $1 per trip. So if you look at the numbers, you will find that in about 10 to 15 years, in fact, you're beginning to repay back the cost of this particular project on the basis of these numbers. So again, they're very, very attractive. We expect to run the Blue Line with electric multiple unit trains. In fact, we've ordered the first train that we intend to use to ensure that the train itself will fit the infrastructure. As far as construction goes, we are doing it in 3 phases. Mile 2, which is to just further down the road here, probably about 7 kilometers down the road from here, is where we're starting off. We started off construction to end up here at National Theatre. National Theatre itself is a national icon in Nigeria. I'm sure you've seen the theatre itself, constructed back in the 70s, I think. And there's plan to redevelop this entire area to put in malls, cinemas, and so on. So it made sense for us to put our station at National Theatre. But the first phase of construction was for us to start at Mile 2 and end up here at National Theatre, which we have now done to a very large extent. Our next phase, which is also ongoing, is to now continue from National Theatre across the lagoon to Marina, and to enable us to actually begin to operate services from Mile 2 to Marina itself, where there is significant demand for such services. The third phase is between Mile 2 and Okokomaiko, which is some 13, 14 kilometers away from Mile 2. That particular project depends on a road expansion project that's going on there at the moment. Hence, we are slowing down on that until the road expansion is completed, and then we can insert the railway in the middle of that corridor. The first station has been built, track has been installed. You've seen the elevated infrastructure, which is behind us here. We'll see more of it as we go around. Again, the scheme itself is central to the Badagry Master Plan development. A lot of development is taking place along that corridor now. Travel time along the corridor will reduce from 2 hours to 37 minutes, we think. Travel cost from $3 to $1. A lot of people believe will shift away from private car use onto public transport. It's going to be new, innovative, and attract a lot of interest. And it's a project we expect those of us who are in suits and things, as in England, will also use. The history of Lagos is that most people who use public transport are perhaps the working classes, so to speak. But we want to develop a system that will be available and convenient for all types of people, no matter their social class.
What interests me about this is that we talk about you looking for investment. Yeah. What sort of a return can the investor expect to get from it?
If you look at our red line, the red line as an example, we're expected to shift, the day it opens, up to 1 million people every day. If you're charging each of them $1 each, it means every day you're collecting $1 million. If you do that over 250 days in a year, it means in 1 year you've got, you do that over 250 days in a year, you're collecting $250 million. To build that project, including the rolling stock, is no more than about $1.5 billion. So if you're collecting $250 million every year, and you divide 1.2 by about 250 in about 5-6 years, roughly speaking, you've already paid back. You've got your money back. And then if you have a concession that goes for 20 years or thereabouts, the last 10 years or so basically squeezed in for the concessionaire. So they're very, very, very lucrative indeed.
Why the tour? Why do they have to come?
We cannot embark on a project like this without external support. So each time we have international community willing to come to see what we have done. It's also gladdens our own hearts to in such a manner that there would be opportunity for them, for the international committee, to come and partner with us in not just this blue line alone. We have 6 other rail lines that we are building. We have 14 BRT lines. We have 14 water transport lines. We have 700 conventional bus systems that we are trying to create for Lagos, to make Lagos a smart city.
Like you always say, a vibrant
and livable city.
Okay,
so we need support.
So what should we look forward to after this?
Well, you've got quite a lot to do in the first place, actually. We heard about 18 billion. Was it 18 billion? Was it 21 billion? $20 billion. I mean, I think you've got a good strategic plan. You obviously work your way through it. There are obviously going to be bumps in the road, to use the cliche. But the reality is you ought to start thinking progressively about how you're going to fund it. And you should start now.
So do we see prospects?
Eventually, yes. I'm sure you heard him said that he's willing to, the Lord Mayor, telling us that he's willing to support us in terms of giving us financial advisors who can come and sit with us and come up with ideas based on their own experience. England and London especially, over the last 20 years, have done a lot of PPPs, and we can learn from their mistakes, we can learn from their lessons, we can learn the new ways of doing things. We don't have to make the same mistake that they have done. So that is a plus for our project and for Lagos State.
The atmosphere is looking more exciting and promising already. When operations begin, commuting will become quicker, more convenient, safer, and not only that, it will attract even more socio-economic activities that will boost the gross domestic product in Lagos State. Lamata FR continues in a moment.
Lagos, my home. With Lamata, Lagos is changing for the best.
Your messages this week were quite inspiring. Here are some of the ones you sent in. Ajibola Hazen, you posted saying, "Well done, Lamata. Ambode is working." Ganiat Adirunke Taiwo, you posted saying, "I enjoy your buses, including lag, but make a defined program for Ilepo Terminal, please."
Thanks, Ajibola Hassan, for the kudos to Lamata and our energetic Governor Akinwumi Anbody. We would stop at nothing to give you the best transportation experience. Ganiat Taiwo, we assure you that the Lagos State government is working to provide the required infrastructure for your transportation needs at the appropriate time. We are at our best when we know your transportation needs and expectations, so keep them coming, your questions, comments, and remarks via our following channels.
It was a pleasure having you on the show. With the high-powered visit of the Lord Mayor of London, the Right Honourable Yarrow to Lamata's Blue Line Rail project will leave you a lesson. Commitment to what you do, regardless of the challenges before you, is what makes the best in the world admire and celebrate you.
Neil Strauss certainly agrees. He said, without commitment, you cannot have depth in anything, whether it's a relationship, a business, or a hobby. Is this so, Craig?
I quite sincerely agree with that.
Like what we do here.
Exactly.
I am Kate Harmony.
And I am Obafemi Craig, Lamata.
Keeping Lagos moving.
Lagos, my home. With Lamata, Lagos is changing for the best. BRT